All right, welcome to another episode of the Gift of Gaming podcast. We return to normal scheduling today. We're done with the news. It's February, almost. We're recording this pre-February, but it'll be out post-February. But today we're back to our normal bits and pieces. And on this episode, I'm joined by, of course, Craig, the critical Nolan. Craig?
How you doing, folks?
Good to have you. Always a pleasure.
I said folks, not you, Darren.
Oh, sorry. Well, he's happy to hear you folks, but not me.
No,
and then Kev Purcell. Kev.
Darren, how you keeping, man? Thanks for having me.
Of course. Welcome back. Episode number 2 for you.
Episode number 2. Excited to be here and in the brand new studio.
Well, yes, this room I rented from the apartment block kindly let me do, because we were recording in my living space last week because we lost the spare room. That makes it sound like it was an RIP job. The spare room's no longer with us.
The bulldozers just claimed it.
It's gone forever. So we were in our living room, and of course I had to kick poor old Lauren out for an hour to do that. And I was like, can't really do that every week. That's just not fair. So we are in a little rented meeting room space in the apartment complex, which is pretty cool. It's pretty nice.
Mm-hmm. It's very fancy in here.
It's so warm though. Whoever was in here, me and Craig, we popped into this room first, and it was set to 30 degrees in this place. Who sets the heating to 30 degrees? And it's underground as well. It's not like we're out by the elements here. It
doesn't make sense unless they purposely were trying to mess with the next people to come in.
In which case, mission successful.
And in which case, they're probably on the staircase right now laughing at us.
It's like another gaming podcast. It's right around the corner.
Oh, it's those rivals of ours.
So rival that would be the worst, actually. Yeah, maybe that's why we're number 2 and not number 1. So this week it's kind of gone back to roots for me a little bit. Craig, we kind of tried to crack into the podcast, a couple of years ago, and even before that, again, even a couple of years before that, I'm thinking 2015, 2016. I tried doing episodes, but look, we kind of did these fun kind of ideas to talk about just things, all things gaming. And this week's episode is our top 3 favorite characters. Maybe not necessarily the best video game characters, but our favorite video game characters. Because let me tell you, my 3. Maybe one of them, who is number 3 for me, not even number 1, but maybe one of them is a reasonably good video game character. The other 2 are just I love them, but I know people out there definitely probably don't. So that's where we're going to go. Same. So I think we're going to, I'll hit up each of you guys. We'll go for a round of 3, round of 2, maybe do some honorable mentions and go for our number 1 then. And if you're listening and you've got your top 3 favorite video game characters, why not email us at thegiftofgamingpodcast@gmail.com. Interestingly enough, I got some feedback and some emails in the podcast. Now, from people we know, unfortunately, so it's not great. Andy from New Zealand emailed us. Craig, he was talking about the Pokemon episode. Mm-hmm. And he's disgusted that we would have considered him a Growlithe instead of an Arcanine. Now, I replied back to him in the best way I could and said, listen, bud, there's no way in hell you were ever an Arcanine. You're a Growlithe. That's it, accept that. And Colin emailed this about last week's episode. We were doing the news, and he felt I was very, very harsh about Cyberpunk. I don't know if you guys listened to the episode.
I did listen, and I also thought you were very harsh.
You thought I was harsh? Yeah. Maybe a bit too much. So for people out there who thought I was too harsh, to anybody I offended with that, I'm sorry. It's not the developers. I love you guys. You tried your best. You did everything, but I stand by it. A broken game should not be given to me broken. Make sure it's fixed. Make sure it works. And I'll leave it at that, but thank you, Colin, because...
well, fair play to you. I would never have apologized.
Well, no, because I listened. I haven't listened back on it, but I remembered back in when I was sitting on my angry chair. I was sitting on the angry chair at that time, and I was giving it, and Luke, I could see in Luke and Chris's eyes, they were like, wow, this guy needs to... Maybe he's a little bit too harsh here about Cyberpunk. And it's I still stand by what I said, but I think in the time I just wouldn't let it go. I was so... And that rage...
You were very adamant because they wanted it to come across in a good light, but you definitely wanted it to be a sour tone.
Yes.
Ending.
Yeah.
Because I could tell. I could see the darkness in you. Yeah.
The game bit me. It bit me twice, in fact, actually. So I was like, okay, yeah. But no, but I for the developers, anybody... I mean, like I said, it's not exactly with the most popular podcast in the world, but if the developers of Cyberpunk are listening, it wasn't against you guys. You did everything you could.
And The Witcher 3 is amazing.
Yes.
And good job.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Craig. You're right. I was probably too harsh to old CD Projekt Red. But that aside, it's cool that we're getting some traction on the emails. Myself and Chris were talking about a website the other day, costing more money, so I don't know if I'll go for the website just yet.
We shouldn't be talking about this.
Here's my business plan. It's my 5-year business plan, everybody. But also, we are working on social media still. But in the meantime, we do reply to emails. So if you feel like sending us your top 3 favorite video game characters, do so on thegiftofgamingpodcast@gmail.com. And the reason I'm saying it a couple of times is because my brother messaged me and he was like, yo, you definitely need to put out the email a bit more because it gets lost in the episodes. So I'm like, maybe that's why we haven't. Maybe it's something to do with our popularity. Maybe that's why we haven't received any emails.
We'll take any
yet.
excuse we can get.
So to kick it off, I was thinking top 3 video game characters. They don't have to be necessarily, I would say, narratively good. Good guys. They can be bad guys. Just because you're a bad guy doesn't mean you're a bad guy, you know? So I think, Kev, might kick off with you. For your number 3, right? Your video gaming career. Who makes the 3rd spot of your top 3 of your favorite video game character of all time?
Yeah, it was tough, like, because I was like, narrow it down to 3, and like you instinctively, your mind jumps to potentially the most famous. You know, like that's where I couldn't get away from first. And I was like, no, that wasn't the question. The question was my 3. So I was going for number 3. I picked someone who maybe it's a little bit cheating because they're a character that's already based on someone from a popular like streaming media. But I've gone with Arkham Asylum's Joker as being one of my favorite villains to ever come up against.
Amazing choice.
Is that Mark Hamill voiced?
Yes.
Okay.
And I think as well, one of the reasons maybe this popped into my head, because I don't know Mark Hamill, as you just said, he actually announced, I think within like the last week or 2, that he's probably indefinitely stepping away from the role.
He said that at least 4 times though in the past.
Okay, so he probably won't be coming back to the role.
After Arkham Asylum and Arkham City, he said he wouldn't continue up.
Okay.
And he came back for both.
Yeah.
He didn't come back for the 3rd game, but that was by a different developer, the guys who did Arkham Knights. That piece of shit game.
Gotham Knights.
And
Gotham
Knights
yeah.
there. And then for Arkham Knight, he came back with Kevin Conroy to do the final game.
And an absolute classic as well.
Amazing game.
So good. But I think the reason I had to go with him was because for me, like that's the character we all know. We already know. I think everyone, you don't have to.
Everyone alive
the
knows of the 90s animated Joker.
Yeah,
exactly. And I think they always do this thing where they say who was the best Joker, and no one ever mentions Mark Hamill. And he doesn't get tossed in as enough as he should, because that portrayal of the Joker in that game is absolutely fantastic. And he gets better game on game than he's in, I think.
Yeah, particularly the last game, if you know what I mean. Yeah.
The cool thing you should mention, because with the thing that happened with Kevin Conroy, I was kind of browsing YouTube for a while there, and I came across, they did kind of like I think it was for Arkham Knight, so not the most recent one. I think like 2 or 3 iterations back, and it's behind the scenes. So it's Mark Hamill and Kevin Conroy on the mics doing all the voice acting for the Joker, and you know they're interviewing Kevin Conroy, and it was like, well, how did you feel about working with Mark Hamill? And he was like, the guy's a genius, but like he becomes the Joker when he's doing, and then in the scenes he's like, you know, he's all curled up in himself at the mic when he's doing the voiceover. He's doing the laugh. He's got a crazy mad face on him. So he sold it. He gave it his all, like you know.
Big time. Like it's such a memorable one. Like I can never get away from it. And I always think as well with the gaming aspect of it, they can do things with that character that you wouldn't see in any other form of media. So like in one of the games, you know, he injects himself with Bane's serum and just turns into this ludicrous Joker. And it's just so great because you wouldn't see that. Maybe you'd see it in one of the cartoons, but you're never going to see that in a movie. Like it's just too insane. And
the Joker is such a crazy character that like he won't just fight Batman. He has to shoot Batman with the same serum so that they can both be giants. You know?
Evenly
and when
matched.
like he fires at the Batman, he misses because like Batman jumps in the way, I think, and blocks it from happening, doesn't he? No, he actually does get hit, and then Joker's just like, finally, we can actually go toe to toe. Like he's one of those villains who wants Batman at his best type of thing. He doesn't want to win by.
I want to beat you at your best, so I can say I 100% emphatically beat you. Yeah.
On that given day, who knows what he's thinking tomorrow? Like you know.
But his like you know, and I think I was more of the clips that I was watching that video was I can't remember which game it was. It's the one where his blood is poisoned or something like that, and he was like donating loads and loads and loads of it to the hospital, stuff like that. And I'm like, he's such a like the Joker as a character across the board is such a sinister character. But you're right, there are things that, and I think that Joker with Joaquin Phoenix kind of touched a little bit more on the, like, you know, when he goes to the studio and he shoots the presenter and everything like that. That's a little bit more kind of like, whoa, in your face, a little bit darker than like the Heath Ledger stuff for the. That was a bit more Hollywood or whatever, but the Joker in those games he's so sinister, and he is so like the laughing clown side of things that the sinisterness of it is like, this is very unnerving, uneasy.
But it's fantastic because this portrayal of the Joker is one that, although he's killing people left, right, and center, but it's always still done with a bit of a smile, like a bit of tongue in cheek, like, you know, he can be doing absolutely terrible things, But nobody's ever going to look into his mental health type thing. And with a big deal, you know, he's the Joker. We're supposed to hate him, and that's his thing. Like, but one of the greatest aspects, and one of the reasons I was going to think of him for my top 3 as well, I almost put him down too.
Oh, nice.
But then I was like, oh no, I just know him from the 90s so much more. But like in that game, throughout the first game in particular, he's on the intercom constantly talking to you and being like, oh guys, you better watch out, Batman's coming, he'll be picking you up, and he's taunting his own crew that like Batman's going to get them and stuff like that. So he's just having fun the whole time, like, you know.
And like, for, you know, fair use to Mark Hamill, because I always think in those kind of big games there's a huge amount of narrative stuff, like especially in more modern AAA games like your God of Wars, your Last of Us. The level of dialogue that you have to record for that stuff is absolutely insane. And even I think more so than films. Like if Mark Hamill was doing Luke Skywalker, he probably has way less to say in any of those films than he does in the game. And it's that, like, the devotion to that character. And like I says, you should watch that clip on YouTube. Just like look up like, you know, Mark Hamill doing the Joker voice for Arkham Asylum. It's like watching someone else's like live interpretation of the Joker. He's so curled up in himself, and he's doing the laugh, and he's all around the mic, and he just looks wild while he's doing it. So it's like he himself gets lost in it as well, which is, I guess, why it sells him so well in the game as well.
Yeah, and I think there was another aspect of it as well, where like there's the DLC where you can play as him in certain side missions as well, and the way they, you know, let you play as him is exactly as you would hope. Like his fighting style is so silly. It's almost like he's like a marionette, like a puppet. He moves in this super strange way, and when he walks with this jaunt, and like his instead of his batarang, he's got like chattering teeth that blow up when you go near them. Like it's just great fun across the board to play against him or as him.
Yeah. Do you get to play?
In the DLC, like you said, you could do kind of multiplayer-esque kind of side mission type stuff. It was kind of challenges. You beat up all the bad guys in a certain amount of time, and you could play as the Joker fighting guys.
That's
but
cool.
He wasn't actually fighting Batman.
Because my thing about that I was going to say was interesting that you'd pick a character that you couldn't play as, but you do get a chance to play as him. So like, that's just an added.
You do.
That's great.
It's good. The chattering teeth was hilarious. Like it's just
he's got the little flower with like the gas powder that comes out of it. Yeah, it's great.
Like he just disintegrates everything. It's just sheer acid, like. I love it.
Yeah, he's a great, like, Joker across the board is a great character, and like I'm glad Mark Hamill has kind of gone, and he's been doing that role for years in various ways. I'm glad it hasn't, you know, because the way Jack Nicholson always said, like, oh, it's a character that affects you, and I guess maybe for movies you've got to do it differently to a voice acting, but Mark Hamill always seems to just take it with a bit of fun, and I think it's some of the best delivery that like the Joker's had, you know,
for sure,
big time. But especially on that, like you could be right this time. We may never see him again, like, you know. Without Kevin Conroy, I can't really see the motivation to do it, like, you know.
I don't think they've announced any games either for a while. I think the last one was that Suicide Squad one that's part of the Arkham series.
Yes, and what's nice about that one was when they dropped that trailer, I think, was it at the Game Awards or was it something else, that they did actually say that it was Kevin Conroy, like in memory of Kevin Conroy, and they do actually have, he voiced Batman for that before he passed away. So that'd be a nice little send-off for him. And I don't know if Mark Hamill does the Joker for that one, but that would be a cool last, I suppose, hurrah for those two as a double. Kevin Conroy did it for the animated show as well, did he?
Yeah. The two of them. Yeah. They've been working together for like 30 years, like,
as Batman and the Joker, like
they're the perfect duo. They even do a lot of the DC movies, you know, the animated films together. Loads of those as well.
Good stuff. What about you, Craig? Who made it into your number 3?
My number
your top
3. So in a similar vein, like nearly all, and when I was going through my list of my favorite video game characters, almost all of them are villains. And I revealed to you before in the Pokemon episode how like I'm Blue, I'm Gary Oak, I'm the dickhead trainer. Like, you know, I just want to be the guy who teases the main character, and like that's another reason I love the Joker, because he's constantly giving Batman abuse, you know, on the intercom and stuff like that. So for me, the first ever big rival to come up in video games for me as a kid was when I played Star Fox 64, called Lilac Wars over here. And I remember it being the third mission. I was already loving this game, the graphics, you know, N64, most powerful games console on earth. That's what they said in the trailers.
Them not me.
Them not me. I don't know, you know, PlayStation maybe. But by the third level, you had to disarm this bomb. And you're flying in and you have to defeat all these enemies, and then lo and behold, this deadly music comes on and you hear, "Oh, can't let you do that, Star Fox." And it's Star Wolf and his like Star Wolf team come in to defeat Star Fox and stop them from disarming the bomb. And the whole time, so it's just a 4v4 dogfight with like your team versus his team. And
Slippy getting wrecked,
yeah, of course, by Leon. No, not Leon. Andrew was his rival. Yeah, Leon was for Falco, and Pigma had
Peppy.
Yes, Peppy. And it was 4v4, and like you had Wolf, and you were going toe to toe, firing lasers, and he's just taunting you, like, you know, he's just like, "You'll never do this stuff, Fox." Like he even has a poncy English accent, which just makes him even more incredible.
Makes him even more hittable.
Yeah, I'm just like, yes, it's perfect.
It really does get to me.
But it's great because you gun them down, and they're all like dying and burning and whatever. But at the very, very end of the game, you have to take out Venom. You have to, like, the main base of Andros, and in order to do that, you have to disarm this shield. So the main army's over there fighting, and you and your 3 guys have to destroy this little station. And then lo and behold, the music comes on again, and you're just like, wait a minute, those guys are dead. But the 4 of them come back with all these cybernetic implants and stuff, and they've been like resurrected, and they're here for one more go. So yeah, I loved Star Wolf. Rare unfortunately made Star Fox Adventures Dinosaur Planet without him, which I thought was a huge mistake, and another reason I didn't. Can
I just interject there and ask? I've never even heard of Star Fox Dinosaur Planet. Was that a good game?
Some magazines would have you believe it was, but Rare left Nintendo immediately after the release of that game.
Right.
And I thought it was terrible.
Okay.
I thought it was batshit terrible.
I mean, by the title alone, unless it's Cadillac and
no,
Dinosaurs,
it was called
I'm not
Dinosaur
interested.
Planet, and then they reskinned it as Star Fox Adventures Dinosaur. So it wasn't really a Star Fox game. They just reskinned it 6 months before they released it to boost sales.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So you knew it was a disaster.
Yeah.
But Nintendo took over the helm then for the GameCube version called Star Fox Assault. And in that, for the first time ever, halfway through the game, Wolf and Star Fox have to team up together. And you're flying around while Wolf is literally on top of your R-Wing with a rocket launcher shooting down enemy fighters. And you're there as Fox while Wolf is like with you. And I was like, that is the best like duo bromance like I've ever seen in the game, and I was just super excited to be part of that. So,
and you, as a, you know, because we play a lot of Smash Brothers from time to time. We're
I should mention, of course, Wolf is my character in Smash Brothers as well.
I mean, I suppose nice for you to see him come to fruit, like, because that's, you know, the great thing about Smash Brothers is you get to see these characters in a totally different light and style, and having Wolf in there fighting alongside, like, with Fox and Falco in the game as well, in those, you know,
it just adds to the nostalgia.
The whole character.
Plus, like, despite the fact that I play Wolf all the time, I don't like his play style. So it just shows how much of a Wolf fan I am.
You're devoted to him
with the character, despite not really liking how he plays. Like,
nice. So that'd be your number 3.
That is my number 3.
So my number 3 is, it's an interesting one because I made him a bad guy. He didn't have to be. No, not that he's a bad guy. He still saves the universe or whatever. But so not too many years after they came out, I played through Mass Effect 2 and Mass Effect 3, and I played as obviously Commander Shepard, you know, one of the greatest video game protagonists in one of the greatest lore-filled worlds I've ever played. Yes. And the interesting thing about him and why I loved him so much in that game was in Mass Effect 2, you get to design your character, like design the face. And there's the standard, here's what Shepard looks like, male or female. And I was like, that's boring, I'm going to make my own. But I was quite young, I was 2008, so like, what am I? Well, no, I'm not quite young, I'm like 17, 18.
I hate when that happens.
I have no excuses. So I was an 18-year-old terrible at video games, or at least designing characters. So I designed this character as Shepard, and he, you know, my next older brother came into me when he saw me playing it one time, and he was in a cutscene, and he was like, that has to be one of the ugliest looking characters that I'd ever seen. I spent ages on it, but like spent too long on it, and went from like this okay looking guy to this, he was horrific. And I was like, I can't save the universe looking like this. But what was interesting about the game, and for those who haven't played Mass Effect, when you're playing through the game, you have this, like, you can, you know, you're left with like loads of multiple choices in scenarios. Good choices, which are Paragon, and bad choices, which are Renegade. And what I didn't realize is, as I was playing through the start of the game, and I was making some Renegade choices, not wanting to be mean, but they seemed to be make the most sense, or they seemed to be the best way for me to save or begin to save the universe at the beginning of Mass Effect 2. And what was interesting is as you played through the Renegade, the more Renegade you are, your character starts to get these like orange scars, these orange glowing scars on their face. And I remember I had like, I'd say maybe I was like 20% Renegade, 0% Paragon at this point, had a couple of scars or whatever, and my brother came back into the room and he was like, oh, your guy looks better like that. I was like, oh crap, he does. But what was amazing was I lent into it, and I was like, I'm just going to play the absolute shit out of this game as the bad guy. Like, I'm going to get the job done, I'm going to save the universe, but I'm not taking people's emotions into account.
Nice.
So I went through the whole of Mass Effect. I was punching journalists and telling these doctors to like commit genocide.
Did you manage to
punch
come
twice?
back to her? Yeah, because she ducks the second time.
Yeah. So I went, you know, I was punching journalists. I was telling, you know, my scientists to not fix the genocide of some other species. I was like the biggest asshole ever, and I loved it. I'm always the guy who'd play as like the good guy.
Yeah.
I'll always be the good guy. I'll get your cat out of that tree, madam.
Yeah,
you know,
I do the exact same.
I'll go do whatever, you know, all the nice things I'd go and do. But this was so new and fun to me that I was like punching journalists, asking for my opinion, telling people to shut up, telling like my crew to get their shit together or else they're out, and all this type of stuff. I was like, oh man, I'm kind of going on a bit of a power trip here. But what was amazing about it was that all these choices lead up to, at the end of Mass Effect 3, you build up this big team of dudes and you go into this like final battle, and it's essentially described as a suicide mission. Like you know, it's very low chance you have of making it out of this. And based on decisions that you make there, like where you send people and their expertise and things that you do, you have a chance to kill loads of your team. Now, there's one guy on my team called Thane, who I think in the game...
badass.
He's a badass. He has a terminal illness or whatever else. Great character. And it was like, the most dangerous place... I could be remembering this wrong, but it's like, the most dangerous job is to send someone through the vent to disarm the blah, blah, blah. And I looked over at Thane, I was like, well, you're terminal. Up the vent with you, like, you know? It was this thing of like, you know, no holds barred. I was like, just the asshole. Like, but what was amazing was, he was the only one that died. I got everybody else, I think from a recollection, out of that mission alive with the exception of Thane. And I was like, he was dead anyway.
Yeah,
I was
well, I hate to break it to you, but Thane doesn't actually become like a sick patient until Mass Effect 3.
So no, but the Mass Effect 3, is the Mass Effect 3 not have the...
No, the suicide mission is Mass Effect 2.
Oh.
So you sent a healthy Thane in there.
I have to send a healthy Thane into... Yeah, well, listen, I saved the universe then, and I saved it in Mass Effect 3 as well. I've got... No, listen, I'm
I see what happened here.
Yeah.
Thane dies later on of like being sick,
Yes.
and you... To
I knew
justify it
that.
to yourself, you're just like tricking yourself. It's like, yeah, he was terminally ill. I did a good thing.
I made
You
the
piece
right
of shit,
decision.
Darren.
But he for me as a person who always played the good guy, I always played the games where you played as the good guy. And don't get me wrong, like I saved the universe, so like
Good
I'm
guy.
the good guy,
Yeah.
kind of.
Kind
But
of.
I did it in like the most jackassery, that dude's a dick kind of way through the whole game, and it was one of the most enjoyable playthroughs of it. And especially for Mass Effect, which is such a great game story-wise to play through, I was like, this was just amazing.
Do you ever think to go back and do it the exact opposite way?
No, see, it's funny. It's like, and Craig will know this from me from playing things like Fire Emblem and things like that. I'm kind of like a one and done in Fire Emblem, where you play through a game and if your character dies in a battle, you lose them forever is one of the options. Or you can have a classic mode where they pass out in the battle and they're there for the next one. I always play things where it's like, no, if that's it, that's it. Like if they die, and that's like part of the story. For me, I can't consider Commander Shepard as a nice guy. I just won't.
Fair.
If I played through it again, I think I'd probably go full Renegade again, because I was like, that's how he did it. You know, that's how he saved the universe. No holds barred. He was like, he had a job to do and he was going to do it whatever way it took, because there was a greater purpose here, you know, apart from Miranda's emotions or my good pal Jacob over here. Like, you know, I was like, I don't care about any of them. We're just getting the mission done. And it was so satisfying to play through the game like
But
that.
to answer your question though, like whenever I play this, I've done like Mass Effect 2 and 3 at least 2 or 3 times, so I've done both sides, and they all feel realistic towards the character of Shepard. Like it never seems like he's doing something crazy or out of line. So regardless of Renegade or Paragon, it always felt like you are actually controlling that character, and that character is doing things that he would do.
Fair.
You know, so he can be tough and he can be fair, and he can kind of switch whenever he kind of feels like it. He's that type of loose cannon. So it just made sense. Regardless of what option you pick, it always looked great, you know.
Oh, sweet. Yeah. Win-win.
Yeah, so that was satisfying number 3. So yeah, got a huge amount of enjoyment out of him. So and it's funny because we'll go to honorable mentions before we maybe hit our number 1. But he was sliding in and out of the 3rd spot for a while, and then I remember that I punched a journalist, and I was like, all right, you're in. You've made the number 3 spot, like, you know. So Kev, moving around back to you, number 2. We're moving up the list. This character's gonna be pretty important to you to make number 2.
Yeah, so he is, and that's why he made number 2. Because in my initial draft, he was number 3, and to be honest, he wasn't going to make the cut because it's a bit of a choice. Okay, so after picking a player, right, from Pro Evolution Soccer, number 6. Now,
wow, what a twist.
What a twist, right? There was in this game a player called Adriano who played for Inter Milan, and he's Brazilian, right? And for some reason, I know what the story of what the reason is, but they overstated him in this game to the point that he was a god amongst men when you were playing. And I spent a lot of time when I was younger playing different versions of FIFA, different versions of PES, had a lot of them. And no player has ever stuck out to me like he did. And he's like a cult figure. People still talk about this. He had the highest... I actually got some of his stats out. But anyway, the story behind why he was overstated, and like it's recognized that he was overstated. Like even Konami came out and said like, yeah, we won't do that again. Like there was a executive producer in the company at the time who he was a fan and he couldn't help hide his bias one year. So the year, it was 2006, and this player, he plays as a striker, right? So, you know, you're guaranteed goals if they're any good. So for some reason, and this doesn't happen because like the highest rated player on like FIFA 2003 at the moment is, I think, the highest rated shot power is Ronaldo, and he's got like a shot power of 92. Adriano in this game has a shot power of 99. It's never been done out of 100. This is now, right? His attacking like prowess out of 100 is also 90. His balance out of 100 is 98. So basically, if you got the ball, you couldn't stop.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable. It got to the point that when me and the lads were like playing this after school, straight over to one of the guys' houses, all the controllers in, picking names out of a hat for team, because you weren't allowed to pick them. You couldn't pick Inter Milan because it was cheat code. So we had to knock that on the head. No one's
the odd job of the game.
it was just a guaranteed W, and it was just so funny to me that like, just this one year they couldn't help just like, oh, I love Inter Milan, I'm just going to give them 100 across the board and just make this unstoppable deity of a footballer.
Someone was invested in that guy's career. But was it his actual name, or was it, do you know the way like in the ISS and Pro Evo games, it was always like David Beckham, you know, that type of thing.
And like Arsenal were like North Reds or something like this. If for whatever reason they had Inter Milan, obviously this producer really liked them and he paid the rights or whatever, but they just overstated the shit out of them, and it hasn't been done since.
Cult hero, which
it was one of the first people I thought of when I thought of it. I was just like, oh, I'm gonna pick Adriano from PES 6, am I?
That's such an interesting like choice, because when I was thinking of video game characters, not a single real life or, you know, adaptation from a movie or whatever came to my mind. But of course the likes of like, and especially like with FIFA, because I played FIFA for years. Like I think even now when I check like my most played time on some games, although I don't play FIFA anymore, like FIFA 2013 I think is like, has got the most hours played of any of my games still by quite a yard, and I'm like, wow.
That's because you haven't seen your stats in Smash Brothers in a while.
Yeah, well, that's my house. Yeah, because that's all on your Switch. Yeah, but that's you know, it's funny that when you got into that zone, and because I you know I was always been a Wigan fan, so I was playing as the underdog. So like back in those days, you know, Sean Maloney for Wigan would have been my always, who is currently, by the way, guys, was just announced as the new Wigan manager. So there we go.
Full circle.
Times, you know.
Time and place, Darren.
Sorry. Welcome back to the gaming podcast. My apologies. But yeah, that kind of thing. I never considered that. But yeah, I remember playing that game and always having the likes of like Callum McManaman or Sean Maloney as these people who had always passed the ball to and want to play, but I never considered them as favorite video game characters. But yeah, if it's cult status,
because there was also like an aspect of those games as well where like this was pre like EA kind of thinking about how football actually worked. So you could just sign whatever player you liked. So you could just build a super team. So I'd pick Arsenal. I'd be like, oh, who do I want up front? I want Ronaldo. I also want Ronaldo on the left. And you just pick every single player that you want in the strongest position. And Adriano is without a doubt the go-to. And it's in that specific version of the game. The year before, he was still great. Wasn't that good. The year after, still great. Was not that good. They just went ham this one year. It's so ridiculous. Like, I want to go back and play it and just see.
I think they would have given him something like 99 shot power over someone like Ronaldo, who you'd still almost put up there in the highest.
Oh yeah,
like tier of that, like, you know.
And even then, they were like 92 is where we draw the line. You know?
Yeah. That's about as high as any. Like one of the world's greatest players would give him 92, but this year, this guy, 99.
I was watching a compilation earlier of his like top 10 PES goals, PES 6 goals, and it's just dumb. Like they're from the halfway line. It's like a rocket going into the top corner. Like it's not game realistic at all. It's amazing crack.
Well, I'm glad you picked someone that's kind of a bit out of left field. I never would have considered that, but that's a great one. Like, I mean, in terms of if you've got a video game memory like that, then why the hell not? Like, you know,
sure.
Like cult following. I love that.
Yeah, it's class.
Craig, you got any FIFA characters in there?
No, I would never have thought of such a thing.
So who's your number 2 then, Craig?
My number 2 is Joker from Persona 5. Not the Joker. Joker from Persona 5.
Wow, we've got 2 Jokers.
We've got 2 Jokers there. This is crazy.
That's impressive.
Yeah. And the reason I go with Joker, one is just because I absolutely love that game. And it was probably the biggest game that felt for me. Do you know the way in a lot of games you play as the silent protagonist and it's supposed to be you? You know, you're in their shoes, so it's kind of like you're doing all these things. Well, Joker's like that, except, you know, he's living the life of Tokyo. You know, he wakes up every morning, he goes to school, he does his cool activities in the metaverse, which is like the gameplay, but then he comes home, eats dinner, and goes to bed. And because that was such a routine type of thing, it very much felt more of a real character than any other characters I'd ever played as. You know, because you kind of felt like you were living his life, and these were your friends and this type of thing. Maybe I just get too attached.
No.
To
I mean, like I'm so into games like that where you do live, and like especially like, and it's like real life where it's like I don't have the time in the day to do all the things that I want to do. Like that's me in real life.
Well, for me, like Joker would do something cool, and then I just think to myself, "Wow, does that mean I'm cool?" It does, doesn't it?
Absolutely, by extension.
I am cool.
Yeah.
Whatever helps you sleep at night, Craig.
But I mean, they call Joker the silent protagonist, but like anytime you hit pause, he goes, "Oh, just save," or "Show me your true form," or like he has about 20 or 30 lines of dialogue that he actually says,
which is enough,
and it's enough to really get a flavor of who he is and what he does. And he is cool as shit. Like there's even a point, because you can make yourself ridiculously powerful just by abusing the different personas and combining them and stuff like that. And towards the end, you can play these twins against these twins, Caroline and Justine, and they're supposed to be the ones who've been mentoring you the whole time. But if you show up with godlike personas and they try to attack you and it does no damage, Joker starts mocking them. He starts laughing out loud to them, like maniacally, with like an evil laugh. And I was like, that seals the deal. That's something I would do.
I have made it this far. This is me now.
As soon as he did that, I was like, yes, we are kindred spirits. Like,
and also a character that recently enough was added to Smash Brothers.
Yeah, he was the first DLC character announced the day the game came out.
Trend emerges. I wonder we got number one now.
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking of all those other Smash characters that there's like, see a Sephiroth, Clown, who else we got?
No, it's great. So my number one is not in Smash Bros.
Oh, interesting.
Not really.
Oh. So he's there in some capacity, at least, for sure, like, you know. And in terms of, but like with Joker and that, do you? Because I mean, he's like with the Persona games, it's just him one and done. So that's it. Would you?
Well, I mean, he could come back. No, realistically, he wouldn't. I mean, remember we talked about that. What's that series? The Warriors series. I mean, they did it.
The Hyrule Warriors.
But again, yeah. As soon as I see a trailer
Warriors.
for that, I just get disappointed that it's not the actual game. It's just one of those.
But I mean to say is, you think his character is better because he's got this one.
It's a one and done. He has
yeah.
his story and then it's over. So I don't expect him to come back for Persona 6.
And I think
all the protagonists beforehand never did either.
Yeah, and like what I think was really interesting with his character at the beginning, the way Persona 5 was done, is that in the opening of that game, you're running away from the police, and the whole like you're reliving the story through him in a cell, like being interrogated by corrupt. Police
great
or whatever.
Plot, great story.
A great story. And for me, you can answer things because it gives you that multiple choice answer in those, and you can make yourself seem like the real tough guy, being like, well, I tell the doctor, it's like, tell him to suck a lemon. You ain't saying shit to these guys.
In that scene when he's being chased, he jumps out the window and does like a double somersault, and all your team are on the intercom being like, look at you show off. You didn't need to do those twirls.
He's just
he's just doing it.
He's got a total personality.
Like yes. Perfect.
Well, I think my number 2 will come as no surprise to at least you, Craig, and for a lot of our mates who listen. Kev, I'm not quite sure if you're familiar with this, but I am a massively huge fan of Luigi.
Nice.
Not Mario. Like, I can get wrecked as far as I'm concerned. It's all about Luigi. And there is a story behind that, because I understand that Luigi nowadays is kind of brought to the public as this wimp, coward, loser
kind
of character. He is. But what was interesting, the reason I always liked Luigi, the reason I got onto the Luigi train was back when we were much younger and I had a Super Nintendo and Nintendo, and I had 2 older brothers. So I was always player 2. Always player 2. Never player 1, always player 2. And when it came to playing the Super Mario Brothers games, that meant Luigi, or at least the Green Mario.
So does that mean you were a Luigi fan by complete accident?
Yes. And I'll admit to that. I'm okay with how the story came about, but it's like playing that game and I was like, oh yeah, I kind of want to play player 1 and like, Red Mario, the game's named after him or whatever. But as time went on, I was like, screw my brothers not letting me be player 1. I'm going to own this Green Mario, who ended up becoming Luigi. And then as time went on, ended up having his own set of games, Luigi's Mansions, which are okay. Like they're not great, but it's one of those things that like the more people have slagged me about liking him, because in modern day video games he is like the cowardly younger brother.
You can kind of blame Sakurai for that.
Yes, yeah, who's made him a wussy in all aspects of anything he appears in. But what I like about Luigi as he's grown in that, like in all the sports Mario games, is he an excellent tennis player or golf player? Craig, can you remember? Is he an excellent tennis player or golf player?
I don't know. I think he, like Mario, always has average stats like 7s. Throughout the board,
across the board, because I thought I was reading somewhere that like in golf or something like that, like Luigi's a golfer, like everyone has their thing, but like Luigi, and I was like, I like that. I don't like golf myself, but I like that Luigi's good at golf. But and even as time went on, we played games like Smash Brothers, and he's in that, and he's quite a tricky player to play as, and people are like, oh, Luigi's like, he's no Mario, of course. Like, naturally, if you're going to play as Mario or Luigi, you're going to... But I was like, no, I'm going to learn how to get good with Luigi, and I did. And that even made me like him more and more. And now as time goes on, myself and my mate Danny, we play through Super Mario Brothers 3 regularly. Like, it's a yearly thing, like a traditional thing that we do. And under no circumstances does he get to play as Luigi. That's like, I'm going for player 2. Like, now that's what I own player 2. I'm going for player 2.
Yeah, like
but he's always been great. And now with the Mario movie coming out, being voiced by Charlie Day, who I'm a big fan of Charlie Day. So I'm like, that's okay. I mean, could there be better voices? I mean, there could be better voices across the board for that movie potentially. But I'm interested to see a Charlie Day Luigi.
Definitely
but he had
not
to get
the
up
worst.
there. Yeah,
But Jack Black and your one from The Hunger Games, Anna Taylor-Joy, like, I cannot wait to see.
Yes.
That movie.
Yeah.
They
perfect.
released a teaser trailer to, at least I think it was today, and it was where Mario was fighting Donkey Kong in that Coliseum,
The arena, yeah.
and you get to hear Seth Rogen talking as Donkey Kong, and
cool.
I'm not sure about it.
But he can't do another voice. It's just going to be Seth Rogen.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, so I was like, I thought he'd put something on maybe and still have that classic Seth Rogen laugh, which I think would be a very good Donkey Kong laugh. But I watched that scene. I was like, oh, there's another one I'm unsure of, like, you know. So
Is he just doing it as himself?
pretty much, yeah.
What else does he know?
I thought they'd at least like break up his voice a bit or
Just
something,
make him-
or do
or
something
like
ever
him
so
himself-
slightly different.
Yeah, make him do something himself to be a bit more like,
Yeah.
ape-ish or monkeyish or something like that. But no, he's just talking to himself as Donkey Kong. So I was like, okay, we'll see how that one goes. But they've seemed to have nailed Luigi's voice. Congratulations, way to go, guys. But another thing I like about Luigi as a character is that he almost broke Nintendo. I was so excited about it. They had...
You're talking about the year of Luigi?
I'm talking about the year of Luigi, yeah.
That was the darkest year in Nintendo's history.
Yeah, you better believe it, baby. But like, they'll talk about it forever. So, Kev, if you don't know this, Nintendo decided to do a thing called the Year of Luigi, and they changed a lot of their coloring to green instead of red. And made, I think Luigi's Mansion 2 came out that year or something. And
They had new Super Mario Brothers Luigi. It was kind of like the launch game for the Wii U.
right,
So
yeah,
that would kind of led the
charge,
whole idea,
and everything was green, and Luigi's, and I loved it. I was like, yeah, all right, finally getting the recognition he deserves. And then the following year, they were like, that was our worst year financially that we've ever had. And I was like,
in truth,
well,
that's not Luigi's fault. That's the terrible marketing that Nintendo did for the Wii U. Like, everyone just assumed it was just an accessory for the Wii, and that was completely their fault for not even addressing that.
But what I love that was like, Nintendo were probably happy to push Luigi as the fall guy, make Luigi the scapegoat.
They would blame him.
They've been blaming him his entire life. So that's why I said Luigi's got to be up there for me. Number 2, as a childhood thing, I was like, I had to take that character, and I fell in love with that character over time. Green Mario, essentially, as he was back in the day.
Green Mario.
So I guess before we go on to our number 1 choice, do you guys have any honorable mentions that you kind of think when you were putting this list together, you kind of thought, man, I'm really struggling here about who I put in?
Well, there was one guy I was thinking of, and maybe one of you two will know it, because I was trying to Google this. It's a game I remember from my childhood. Maybe someone who's listening at home will be able to email me in this answer, because I need to know what game this was. I played it as a child on the computer. And basically, you're just like this lead character. He's like this young guy. Like, there's not much to this game. Like, it's not like heavily good on the graphics or anything
what
like
console
that.
are we talking?
Oh, is this a computer game? It was just
Okay.
on a PC.
PC.
I think we just downloaded it. I think it's available on Steam now, but I'm not 100% sure because I couldn't follow if it was the game I was trying to describe. Because the point of it was that you would wear different types of shoes to get around like a chessboard style map. So like there would be water shoes that would allow you to walk on water. There'd be fire shoes that you walk on fire. Ones for slippy surfaces. And I spent so much time playing this game. I've described it to some of my friends who were like, I definitely played that game.
But no one can know.
None of us can put it together. And it's from like the mid-90s. And I just really need to know because he, for me, defined my mid-90s. I played it so much. I can't remember
And
the name
My
of
hand
it.
was hovering over the buzzer, being ready to slam it down.
You
But the
have
second you said PC, I was just like, "That's me out." Like,
I don't have any experience in
I've
that realm.
no-
But if any of our listeners are avid PC gamers and you know who wore all those shoes back in the mid-90s, email us at thegiftofgamingpodcast@gmail.com and put Kev out of his misery.
It's been so long. I do this every other year. I start Googling it again, being like, maybe this game is available online. But what I have to Google is, what's the game with the shoes? And I do with the
How do
ice
you-
I bet you
shoes.
get Zelda
It's
Ocarina
so
of Time a
annoying.
lot.
Yeah. Water boots and all that type of stuff. Yeah. And no name, just the guy with the shoes. That's all.
I can't remember him. I can't remember. It's just so long ago.
Man, I wish I could help you.
Painful.
PC games beyond me.
But did he talk? Did he say things? Was he
No,
cool?
no,
did he just
not at
have
all.
amazing shoes?
There would be
Look at that guy's style.
There would be text, and you would have to like solve little puzzles. Collect the key, walk through the gate, all this sort of stuff. You get your fire shoes. You can walk on the lava now.
Nice.
Amazingly fun game. What's it called?
Please help us. What about you, Craig? Do you have an honourable mention that couldn't get to your list?
Because Geralt of Rivia was going to be in my top 3, but I'd be just like, you know what? He's part of books and stuff like that. And
we got a number 2 over here who's a football player.
As soon as he said number 2,
I'm joking for this. Yeah,
but I love Geralt of Rivia from The Witcher 3.
Yes.
So he was going to be an honourable mention to me. I used to be a massive fan of Cloud/Zack because I always considered them the one character.
Yes.
I mean, we talked about this before, but for me, like, the whole first 3/4 of the game, you actually play as Zack, only Cloud doesn't realize it.
Yes.
But as soon as Crisis Core became canon and Zack was like, "Hi, how are you?" I was like, "Okay, so that's bullshit. That's not what it was."
He was an ass.
So all of a sudden they've changed Cloud and Zack's origins for the worse, and I'm like, okay, well, they're not. So now Cloud is just a dickhead for absolutely no reason at the start of Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
for me, I'm just like,
but I think
so he's no longer a great character.
In their defense, I think they did rectify that a little bit in Remake, because he's a little bit easier going in Remake, right?
He's just, there's so much more talking and there's so much more
I
flirting
suppose,
that I guess he's and he's a decent character in this.
So Cloud,
he was great. But what I mean by that is Cloud/Zack was great, because as soon as he gets his memories back, he becomes a little pussy again. He's just kind of like, whatever, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But like, he was a badass right up until the end of the game. Yeah. And I was like, I like that guy, but that guy is lost.
So you
forever.
like your honorable mention then would potentially
another
be,
bad guy, of course.
Yeah, Final Fantasy VII Zack.
Final Fantasy VII Cloud with Zack's memories.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, but that's such a like. I'm gonna take,
it's
I'm gonna
so
take
specific.
this little bit here. Yeah, that's a good.
Because I hate Zack, but I love that version of Cloud.
Yeah. That's a decent one. I think for me, honorable mention, and you'll know this one well, Kev. I was going to, and I think if we were to do an episode of things like like great video game characters, I think I'd have to consider this guy. But Arthur Morgan.
Shout.
From Red Dead Redemption.
I was going to give him an honorable mention. Just amazing.
He's like, and in terms of, John Marston kind of gets a redemption in the first game, essentially. But Arthur Morgan's redemption is so pure.
It's
like,
so good.
And he, he goes through that entire game as an outlaw, but always questioning the morality of it the whole way through, until the point where it comes to the end and he's like, I mean, spoilers, it's been out for a while. I won't say too much because it's a game worth playing. But at the end, he kind of gets the chance to be better than the possibly better than the outlaw. And I love that. And I was like, is he one of my favorite characters? No, but is he a great character? Yes. Yeah. Probably greater than anybody I've picked in my list.
He might be the number one character. Yes. Just because the dialogue in that game is better than any other game ever.
Yes. Yeah, and just him just trying to figure it all out in what is a time that's like running the outlaws out of town, and he's trying to grow with that or manage that. It's just so beautifully done. Yeah, at the end of that game, I was like, man, what and then you have to play as, like that. You get the chance to play as John at the end of the game. Like, this guy's so
especially because a lot of people were raving about John from Red Dead Redemption 1. But as soon as Red Dead Redemption 2 comes around, you're like, forget this guy. He's so much better. And
the fact that they've gone the fact they went from such a John Marston in Red Dead Redemption 1 was a great character.
Well, if you say so.
But I thought he was good. Hunting down his old guys, been like, I'm just trying to get my family back. Fuck you guys.
I know, but you walked into the bar and then all the prostitutes are coming up to you and being like, hey, would you like a good time at me? And he's like, I'm a married man. I'm like, you bitch. This is a Western game. What's the point?
Yeah, married man, and he tries his best.
You've just ruined it for everyone.
But what I like about that is that whole thing about him being because it seems, based on the fact that he's a bit of a crook in the first game, it seems like it's not very plausible. But based on how you play Red Dead Redemption 2 and you see that he's trying to be the better husband, that character makes a little bit more sense in Red Dead Redemption, the first one. You're like, oh, he was, the whole way through Red Dead Redemption 2 as a younger man, he was trying to be a more faithful person.
But then they just should have made Red Dead Redemption 2 first, because that's what we wanted the first time.
Yeah, that's what
we wanted to play as the badass, not the married man who fucking...
Yeah, we did play as badass.
Did you always play as good guy Arthur Morgan, or were you ever kind of like me and Arthur Morgan,
No, I think Arthur Morgan was a good one. I think I was very quite center, maybe center good. But unfortunately with that game, I don't think it delivered the good versus bad as well as like some Mass Effect, because I think there'd be some times where you were trying to do good things and then the next mission you're executing people, and you're like, no,
Yeah.
I'm not. I think the game doesn't really allow you to be a good guy in that game for the most part, because you're still doing horrible outlaw-ish things. So like the idea that you go like help a woman onto her horse and like bring her back to her home and tip your hat to her and be like, you're welcome, ma'am, I'm a good guy. You're like, no, you're not, Arthur Morgan.
You're still
like,
going to rob that bank in the next mission.
Yeah. So there was that issue. I tried to play as him good, but I think because I played through that game twice, on my second time I wasn't awful, but I definitely leaned more towards the be a bit of a jerk, because that's how you were brought up essentially. And the trying to be good, although that's kind of his story, it never really fits in with the missions in the game sometimes, because you're just going around being an ass hat for most of it.
The guy, was it Butch or Dutch, whoever's the leader,
Butch Dutch.
Butch Dutch. Like he is completely out of the line and like just kind of going mad and just trying to, like, he keeps digging a hole and making it worse for everyone around him, and you can tell Arthur is losing his faith in him completely. And
so
like,
quick.
We need to get
Which
out
is
of
the
this.
saddest thing, because and I probably should have picked Arthur Morgan based on this discussion, but that's the thing about him as well in that game, is that like he sees that like this is not the way to go anymore, and even though like he finds it so hard because he was brought up with Dutch and I forgot what the old man's name was.
Yeah, you just go fishing together.
Oh yeah, he helps him build his house at the end as well and everything. He's just like the uncle, is it?
No, not uncle. The guy that kind of raised Dutch, and then him and Dutch raised.
Oh yeah.
His opening mission was to track a bear. I remember that.
Yes, that was really cool. Yeah, I can't remember his name. I should do, but like the fact that he's witnessing Dutch ruin all of that, makes it so much harder. I mean, because that's the thing. When I played through that game, I was ahead of my brother who was also playing it, and he was like, "God, I'm having so much fun in these first like 2 or 3 camps. This is amazing."
That's the best.
Yes,
time.
the first 2 camps that you set up in the game are great because everybody's
so
happy.
Wholesome.
It's
You're
so
just like,
nice.
Let's ride into town.
And my brother was like, "Hey, should I continue on?" I was like, "No, do everything you want to do by camp 3 because it's not as much fun after that. Like everything gets really bad. Like
take all the music in now while you can, because they stop playing the music by camp 3. Like there's no jaunty
There's no more
songs.
songs. No, it's all dead. Man, I probably should have put it in my top 3. But we'll go into our numero unos, our top video game characters of all time. Our favorite, not top, our favorite video game characters. Because mine, as much as I love my number 1, and Craig definitely knows who my number 1 is, they're definitely not the best video game character out there. Like I'll admit to that.
You just have to say it.
I do. Yeah, I just get it out there first before I get wrecked. Kev, your number 1. Who made it?
Yeah, my number 1. So I've gone with Ezio Auditore of Assassin's Creed.
Fine choice.
What a man.
And the best of the assassins.
I think that goes without saying.
I don't know. The Cunningham in Black Flag was pretty cool.
good. Yeah, Black Flag was always a weird one for me because I didn't realize they were doing all the ship stuff in it. So when it jumps to all the ship being a captain and like getting into fights against like castles, I was like, I wasn't expecting this. I just want to have my hidden blades.
Well,
and
you
that's
have
what
all those as well.
Yeah, that's so true. I just felt I was just like, I'm on this ship an awful lot. But that's why I think I like Ezio so much. Is like, firstly, his like story arc is just absolutely amazing. Like it opens and he's this like Jack the lad, like 17-year-old getting in scraps, like sneaking off at night to like get with like pretty much every noble woman in the town. It sounds like, and suddenly he's just thrust into this like age-old battle that you just have to get involved with. And when it starts, he's so impulsive, he's brash, he exposes himself as an assassin quite a bit early on.
I'm glad you finished that sentence.
But yeah, like there's like one of the opening ones where like one of the opening missions is, like you first don the assassin's garb and you're meant to like do it stealthily, and he just like shouts out and gets himself caught, and like he's just
so real. He's so real.
Yeah, he's really. I can really relate to him because like in the first game with Altair, I just didn't find him relatable at all because from seeing like from like mission 1, I was like, you're a bit of a dick.
Plus, it was
you've
just
gone
a
against orders.
terrible game that
you didn't like.
Very poor. Well, I had it and I played it and I'm just like, okay, there's really only like 3 missions.
Okay,
like following someone, pickpocketing someone, and then assassinating them. And there was
It's
no poison, there was no money,
very,
there was no nothing.
very samey after a short period.
Because Altair I think he is a good character, but I think what lets him down is that he was the first.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I think if you had him maybe later on in the game, they probably would have done him justice.
It's a shame he didn't get his own game separately of that because they, and I think this is the same with like CD Projekt Red and stuff like that. It's just like when you're doing a new franchise, you often mess it up the first time, and by the second one, like you're saying with Ezio, they nailed it. Like, and all 3 of those games with Ezio I thought were fantastic.
Yeah, and I think he's the only person that gets like spread across 3 games as a playable character as well. So. And I think like he maybe benefited from like the setting of the game as well, where like with Altair you go from like you're in the Holy Lands, it's a cool setting, there's no doubt about it. But next minute you fast forward and you're in Renaissance Italy, and I don't think it gets much better than being able to just walk through the streets of or
Venice,
running on the roofs of Renaissance Italy.
And like does not have what's his name? Da Vinci.
Yeah, he's your pal. You're just like, I need to get my hidden blades fixed. Who can do it? Oh, just knock into Leonardo da Vinci.
That kind of stuff's like being able to play on historical figures like that's so fun as well. Like
it's one of those rare games you can play as well. And if say your dad walked in, because my dad was always just like, oh, you're playing video games again. Oh, jeez.
You're winning, son.
With this, it would just be like, oh, look at this. It's Leonardo, you know? And apparently, like, the historians, like, made a pretty accurate depiction of, like, the actual places in these games.
Well, what's amazing is just a cool little fact for you is when Notre Dame went on fire and burned, so the big church or whatever, I can't remember which Assassin's Creed it is, it's in France, but they recreated, like, almost bit for bit, like, the actual blueprint of Notre Dame when they were trying to create the game, and
so
experts came to them to be like, we're trying to rebuild this and like rebuild it back as to how it was, because it had gone through so many renovations. They were like, no, we want to restore this faithfully. Apparently that they were able to get in touch with these guys and be like, oh, can we borrow your stuff because you've done it so well.
I wonder if they put in the perch and then the bale of hay at the bottom.
Yeah.
People like to see the influence.
And the guys in crazy game, and if you jump out from that point and land in the haystack, you'll survive.
Like, why do I need this? Fuck it, it's on the
If you say
blueprints.
so.
Put it in there.
But yeah, that was a lot of fun to be able to do that in those games.
Yeah, and like he just develops game on game, and he's a great character. Like he ends up like shaping the whole Assassin's Creed, I think, because I didn't realize this at the time, but apparently like Ezio's theme is what it's called. The music just plays whenever he's doing something thoughtful or whatever, you know, like it's just his theme. It appears in every game after Assassin's Creed 2. So I think even like Ubisoft know, like they hit the nail on the head with the guy.
They've kind of chosen him as the main guy.
Yeah, everything about him just sold for them. That's cool. Ezio, yeah.
The opening of Revelations too, where he's just walking through the snow with his big beard.
So good.
And you're just like, man, this is obviously set like 10 or 15 years later, but he can still do it.
Oh,
like,
he carries it
like,
well.
He's in his 50s, I think, or something in the third game, like, you know, and he's training all the new assassins, but he still whoops ass.
I rewatched all those trailers recently. I was just like, fine. And like, cause I downloaded, actually, they brought out the Ezio collection, and I just downloaded, I had a free weekend and I powered through a lot of Assassin's Creed, like a 2 predominantly, and it's just like absolutely amazing. It's just one of those games that I can just always go back into and just get stuck into and just get lost in it and just wander around. And Ezio as himself,
because that's as well like the world that they're in as well, like to be able to play as that character who is so good in places that are so well built. Because I wouldn't have played a whole lot of Assassin's Creed, but one of my brothers did, and he was playing a lot of them recently, you know, just going back to, I can't remember what's the one that's based in London.
The Syndicate.
Possibly
I think it might be
Syndicate, but he just brought me in to have a look at them, just to have a look at the world that you're walking around in, and I'm like, man, you know, this stuff's good. Like, you know, as you said, where would I want to walk around as an assassin? Yeah, let's go Renaissance Italy, and you know, hang out with Da Vinci and everything. Great choice for your number one.
All three, very unexpected. Yeah,
thank you.
Yeah, all very different. I like that.
Yeah, I try to vary it. Yeah,
very good. And what about you, Craig? Who made your? I'm actually quite curious about your number one.
My number one.
I was thinking in my head, been like, who would Craig pick? And for a while, I was thinking it might have been Joker would have made your number one from Persona.
Oh, nice.
But he's your number two, so
quite close then. Yeah. My number one stems from obviously the whole villain thing again, and just like a villain who, similar to the Joker, is just over the top and just wants you to know that they're there and is just taunting you and stuff like that. And for me, the true best child out of the Les Enfants Terribles project is Liquid Snake.
Nice.
Liquid
choice.
Snake is my favorite villain in history, simply because he is just that much better than Solid Snake, and he knows it. And like, he constantly tries to one up you throughout the game, only for you to one up him, and it drives him nuts, like, you know. But he's just like, his introduction is, it's the very beginning of the game. You killed like 2 bad guys, and then all of a sudden you see Liquid Snake, and he just flies off in a helicopter and blows up all these airplanes that like have come to like bomb the island, and he just takes them out by himself. And then throughout the game, like, he speaks to you as Master Miller. Like,
Yes.
he is like pretending to be your best friend, just taunting you the whole. So he's with you the whole game, giving you advice on what to do next.
I do have to say though, because like it is funny in especially Metal Gear Solid 1, because I can even see the reveal in my head when you're on the codex. Like, in
He
there,
just takes off the glasses and the hair
shakes
just
his
drops slightly.
It's the greatest. It's like, how did you not know?
It's like, you realize he can't see you, right?
Yeah. Oh, that was so good. Yeah, Liquid's a good choice actually.
But that reveal is just one of the reasons, because he obviously had killed Master Miller, who, I don't know if you played Metal Gear Solid 5, but Master Miller manages to take down Eli no problem. So for me, I've always just looked at that and was like, okay, Eli remembered that and got his payback 15 years later. You know, he sneaks into his house and probably strangles him to death, like, you know. But Liquid Snake, throughout the game, you're fighting him. You fight him in a helicopter. You blow up the helicopter. He survives. Then you have a fight with him against Metal Gear Solid. And you blow up the Metal Gear and he survives. And then you fight on top of the Metal Gear in a fist fight to the death. And you defeat him and he falls off the Metal Gears. But he survives. And then you're escaping from the island and he is chasing you with like his machine gun, and you're both driving through everything, like shooting at each other, and then both jeeps crash, but he survives.
But not only that, but the interesting thing about that is that
you're tapping on.
He would have won. He would have been better because it's the like, this is where Metal Gear always got crazy. What's the
it's Fox Die.
Fox Die kills him before he can kill Solid.
The two jeeps are turned upside down.
Yeah.
And Liquid Snake is still standing. And he walks over to Solid Snake, who's trying to pull himself from the wreckage. He aims the gun at him. And unfortunately, there's no awesome line of dialogue where, you know, for me, it was like a Sean Bean moment from GoldenEye, where it's like, you know, James, I was always better. You know, like just a moment like that. But then, like, he just gets the heart attack immediately from Fox Die and falls down dead.
That's what I never considered. He was better in the end.
He was
the end of
but
all,
he was
better.
the chosen one. He didn't think
hang
he
on.
was.
I don't know if he was better.
Well, he
was the survivor at least, you know, because I mean, Solid Snake, you the player beat him on every level apart.
I know,
from the
but
end.
you overcome that despite your genetic weaknesses. You know, Solid Snake overcame that to defeat him. Like, but it's a case of like, Eli/Liquid Snake thought he was the inferior, so he's fighting with all this rage, you know. So it's kind of like, you know, is he in his right frame of mind during all these fights? Is he really going at it, or is he just a psychopath trying to kill his brother, like, you know?
Yeah.
But despite this death, Metal Gear Solid 2 comes around, and all of a sudden Ocelot is like shooting people left, right, and center. But the second Ocelot sees Solid Snake, his arm starts twitching, and out comes Liquid Snake's voice. And it's just like, brother, in his awesome Cam Clark voice, who I mentioned from Smash Brothers, because Cam Clark is the voice of Leonardo from the Turtles. He's the voice of Liquid Snake. He's also the voice of Corrin out of Fire Emblem, and voices Corrin in Smash Brothers.
There you go.
So
nice.
in a way, Liquid Snake's kind of in there.
I mean, full circle.
Thinking,
It's like, isn't that brilliant? But in Metal Gear Solid 2, and this is where Kojima lost his mind, like, because he just tried to make everything canon. Because apparently everyone loved Liquid Snake, and he just intended to kill him as a once-off villain. So then Metal Gear Solid 2 comes around, and he's like, oh no, shoot, what have I done? I better fix this. So he made it that Liquid Snake is living inside Ocelot's arm, which is ridiculous and really annoying.
But just to put it in perspective for people who haven't played the game, Ocelot lost his arm in the first game, and
yes,
because, like, for whatever reason, someone decided, hey, we'll give you Liquid's dead, we'll give you his arm, but Liquid is still alive in his arm.
But I mean, and if
that's the beginning of the end for Metal Gear Solid, by the way, everybody.
That's why they made Metal Gear Solid 3, is that, like, they just ruined the story too much in Metal Gear Solid 2, that they were like, let's not touch this for a while.
Yeah.
So Metal Gear Solid 3 came out, and then they made a young Revolver Ocelot, and everyone loved him. So now, even though at the end of Metal Gear Solid 2, Liquid Snake takes over control of Ocelot, and he is now, like, fully in control, by the time Metal Gear Solid 4 comes around, everyone's in love with Ocelot again, because in Metal Gear Solid 3, he's so good. So what do you think Hideo Kojima does? He goes, oh wait, no, it's not Liquid inside Ocelot, it's Ocelot all along. You know, because he's just like, okay, the fans like this guy, I'll stick with him. Yeah. No, the fans like
just
this
guy.
Just
write your story, Kojima.
Like, he's just all over the place. He's an absolute lunatic. But for me, Liquid Snake was the epitome of, like, that ultimate rival, that 006 to 007, you know, your alter ego, you know, the guy who like he thinks he's better but he's not, you know, and all this type of stuff, and he was just an absolute badass villain, and one I aspire to be like in real life.
That fight scene at the top of Metal Gear, Fox died, I would die of a heart attack as a young man. But the fight scene on top of Metal Gear Solid, or on top of Metal Gear in the first game, is to me lives long in my memory, because that was
well, did you play the version on the GameCube, the Twin Snakes?
Yes.
Where they vamped up those cutscenes to 11, and so that fight is just
and
incredible.
You can see in Metal Gear Solid 4 when you're fighting Ocelot atop the submarine or whatever it is, and with all the cutscenes you can see they were like, okay, Twin Snakes was super successful with all this, like, you know, mad cutscene in the middle of a fight stuff, that we're going to just transpose all of this onto the submarine fight at the end of 4. Yeah, Liquid, fine choice. So what, you had Liquid, Joker's your good guy. Who was your number 3 again?
Wolf.
Okay,
so Wolf, Joker, and Liquid. And my highlight of Joker is when he laughs maniacally to the twins.
Yeah, it's a pretty evil cast. Evil cast.
Because if he hadn't done that, I might not have even considered him.
I'm going to take a walk down the opposite road to Craig and go for quite possibly one of the goodest characters in video game history, and I'm going to pick Sora from Kingdom Hearts.
Yay!
Yeah, absolutely right. Craig. So I had as all the power craziness from my youth is playing as Commander Shepard. I was like, whoa, I got to take a step back. This evilness is doing weird things to me, so I need to go right back into my Sora playing days. But as a kid, I'll never forget, big Final Fantasy fan, loved this, and just a big Disney fan as a kid anyway. I love Disney films, love Disney characters. And I'll never forget the day that I went to buy, I can't remember what video game magazine it was, but in it was a screenshot of Squall from Final Fantasy VIII talking to Donald, Goofy, and this other dude with spiky hair looking like a Final Fantasy character who had this amazing weapon, which was a giant key, which I know, saying it like that for people who've never seen it, probably like, a giant key is a weapon, that is the dumbest thing. But the Keyblade is this, like, for me, it's one of the greatest, I mean, inverted commas, swords I've come across. I love it as a weapon. I remember looking at all those pictures in that magazine when I was like 9 or 10, whatever, like before that game came out in 2001. And I was like, whoa, I need to play this game, because it's Final Fantasy mixed with Disney throughout the entire of the first game. And Sora's the person who carries me through that world. And he's just trying to, like, he gets chosen as a Keyblade master. It's not something he ever wanted. He just wanted to hang out with his friends, but now his 2 best friends have been taken by the darkness, and his whole thing is, I'll do whatever I can to find them. And in Kingdom Hearts 1, it's great because you're going through all these Disney worlds, and the whole time you're looking for your friends Kairi and Riku. At the end of the game, you manage to save Kairi, but Riku's kind of gone over to the dark side, bit of a Darth Vader thing going on there, but he comes good right at the end. But the only way you can save the worlds from being succumbed to darkness is Riku traps himself on the side of the door of darkness, and Sora has to close him in on the side of light. And I remember being like a 10, 11-year-old kid, and that end cutscene is like, really hits me, because the last words Riku says to you at the end of that game is, he goes, take care of her, like referring to Kairi. And I was like, whoa, damn, man. And like, you know, you have Kairi back, which is great, but all of a sudden Kingdom Hearts 1 ends, and I'm like, I gotta go find Riku. And that's Kingdom Hearts 2, then boom, 2 years later, or whenever, 6 years later, or whatever time it was. Yeah. A long time I waited for that game. But that game comes out, and you're a grown-up Sora. I'm a little bit more grown-up, and Sora's a little bit more grown-up. Like, you know, it's
1
close.
year.
Yeah. Well, I am a little bit grown-up, Craig. You know, like I've come a long way. But playing through that game then and going to find Riku again through all these Disney worlds, and this guy, and like Sora's all about like doing the right thing always, which I really appreciated. He's very, like, he's not a hugely deep character. Like, it's very much do good all the time, in the first 2 games at least anyway. But then I waited years and years for Kingdom Hearts 3 to come out. It was like delayed, took forever. And Sora's always like the positive one. And when I was a kid, when I was younger, I was like, I'd love to model myself off this dude. Like, just be positive. Like, this guy's positive about everything. You know, his friend's kidnapped, to be positive. The girl he likes is trapped on an island, you know, they can't get to. Be positive. I was like, I got this. I can do this. And kind of like, I was like, I'm going to try and be a bit more like Sora. And then Kingdom Hearts 3 comes out, you know, and I'm a little bit older, and the world's kind of weighed on me a little bit, and being an adult's hard or whatever. And it's been hard for Sora too. Kingdom Hearts 3, he is finding things tough. And I'm like, man, I can relate to this dude. And all this while I was like, I love this guy. Take me through these Disney worlds, trying to figure all these problems. Amazing character for me. Love him to bits. And doing this podcast years and years ago, like, again, talking about 2015, me and Luke did these podcasts. We tried to do crappy episodes. We never released them. But it was at the time, I think, when Cloud had been announced for Smash Brothers. So it became this thing where we were quite aware that, they're letting anybody in almost. You're not letting anybody in, but everybody's got a chance to be in potentially if you're in video games. And the episodes that me and Luke did, we only do like half-hour episodes, and we recorded, I think, 5 or 6 at the time. But every episode, Luke would always ask me, how much closer, Darren, are we to having Sora in Smash? And I'd always say to Luke, we're a little bit closer. # Sora for Smash.
I remember those. I was part of it then.
Yeah, when we moved on to that, and always said that. And it was this thing where, like, always, it was like, Sora's going to be in Smash. And for me, like, so stupid to get this excited about video games at all. But whatever it was, 2 years ago.
Stupid. Don't ever say that.
Goes against the ethos.
All these characters are coming out for Smash Brothers, and every time a character is released, it's not Sora. Everyone online, because loads of people wanted Sora, not just me. There was a big outcry for Sora, and loads of people wanted Sora in Smash. And anytime a new character came out, there was always another reason why it couldn't be Sora. And at one point, then they had Hero from Dragon Quest, which was a Square created game. They were like, don't know if they'll do another Sora now. And then even after that, they announced Sephiroth. And I remember watching the Sephiroth announcement, and I was like, I was always positive. You know, I took it from Sora. Be positive, Darren. You know, he'll be in Smash. But I saw Sephiroth being announced, who was like the 3rd Square character, and I was like, oh, balls.
Yeah. And in that patch, he was like the Square, like they'd hardly have 2 Square characters in a patch of 5. So even me, I was like, it's done, Darren. You're never getting it now. And
then the day I kept telling everybody, it comes to the last character, they announced this is the last DLC character we're going to have for Smash Brothers. That's it. And then Smash Brothers is done. Sakurai's finished with it, whatever. And I remember telling everybody, you know, guys, it's going to be Sora. It's going to be Sora. And we sat down to play Smash, I think, like 2 or 3 weeks before that announcement. And I was telling everybody, this is how it's going to happen, guys. He's going to be announced for Smash. He's going to come through the door to light, simple and clean. The orchestral version is going to play, and Sora's going to save everybody. And I was just talking through my
I feel bad. I was like laughing at him in the messages and be like, it's 0% going to happen.
Just crashing down.
Yeah, everyone was like, and like, in fairness, people were going to be kind of trying to be kind to me, be cruel to be kind, because they were like, Darren, it's not going to happen.
The critical?
Yeah. The critical was just being critical to me. Like,
I just didn't want his hopes to be, broken. You know, I was just trying to be as realistic as possible so he wouldn't be upset later.
But after playing all these Kingdom Hearts games and finishing 3, and 3 was a decent Kingdom Hearts game, and I loved it. And I don't really know where the series is going to go now. But the one thing I always wanted for years and years and years was to play that Smash Brothers game that I love so much, but to have Sora in it. And I sat down, and it was a pity because like the announcement was at like 3 p.m. in the day, so none of us, like, you know, if we could for announcements like that, we'd always get together, maybe watch it or whatever. And this came out at 3 o'clock. And guys, watch the Sora reveal trailer for Smash Brothers. Even if you don't care about Smash Brothers, even if you don't care about Sora, watch it, because I mean frame for frame. Right, they do the announcement, and it's kind of like, it's obscure. Mario throws this like fire stick, and you don't know what it is, and you can't tell. And that's the whole point, because they're like, who's it going to be? And the fire stick, like the fire disappears, and it's the Keyblade. And I remember sitting, like, I'm by myself, right? I'm at work. It's 3 p.m. I was like straight on the side. I literally like feet up on the seat, being like, oh, that's unbelievable! Like, they did it, you know? And they have him, and like the door to light opens, simple and clean starts, and Sora comes out through the door to light, and I was like, I fucking knew it. It's going to be Sora. And for me, it was like accumulation of like, I love this guy so much. And then what's even better about that is they made him an incredible character in Smash Brothers as well. You know, they could have been like Luigi, could have made him a piece of shit character to play as, but they made him a good one. But hands down, my number one character, he took me through a world where Final Fantasy and Disney collided, which to me doesn't have any right to exist, but it did, and for the most part was done relatively well. And he was my protagonist who guided me through all that and just kept a positive outlook on life all the time. So that's why he's and always will be, my number uno.
No matter how bad the games get from here on.
The games have always been pretty bad, Craig. All those spin-offs were pretty bad, you know. I'll be the first to admit it.
I mean, Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 were both fantastic games.
Yes.
But by Dream Drop Distance, I couldn't get through it. And
it's too much.
Gotten so corny by then. I'm just like, even Sora is forgetting what he did before just for the sake of explaining it to everyone. So he's just an idiot, like, you know.
You can't.
But Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 Sora is fine. How do I make it nice?
You can't read them on me. So there's my 3. So Kev, in your order, 3, 2, 1. Who'd you pick again, just as a reminder?
Number 3 was the Joker. Number 2 was Adriano. Number 1, Ezio Auditore.
I love that number 2 is Adriano. I love that
it's
so much.
It's just so random. I know. I the whole day, I was just like, go with Adriano.
Absolutely.
Don't bottle it, Kev.
Yeah, and I'm glad you didn't. And Craig, you had...
mine were Wolf O'Donnell, Joker, and... Eli or Liquid Snake.
Yeah, and for myself, I had Commander Shepard, but evil Commander Shepard. He's got to be bad Commander Shepard. Luigi and Sora. And for all our listeners out there, if you've got a top 3 favorite characters that you think are better than ours, or even if you want to just tell us that our choices are shit, you can do so by emailing us.
But you are wrong.
You can email us at thegiftofgamingpodcast@gmail.com. Craig, Kev, thanks a mil for popping in for this episode. That was fun, you know.
Yeah,
the newest episode I did last week required a lot of work. This required 0 work, so I appreciate this episode.
We can just have fun.
Yeah, man.
Exactly. But we'll catch you guys on the next one. Thanks for listening, guys. Hope you keep on enjoying the gift of gaming. Peace out and goodbye.